the ARKÉA ULTIM CHALLENGE-Brest opens a new chapter in round-the-world racing. As a new chapter in ocean racing history was opened with the start of the inaugural ARKÉA ULTIM CHALLENGE-Brest, the sun shone on the Rade de Brest, in the west of France, and the modest northeasterly wind was scarcely enough to lift the giant Ultim multihulls onto their foils, to speed out onto the Bay of Biscay. In a modest 10 knots of northeasterly wind, in front of a sizable spectator fleet, which braved the winter chill on the water, Tom Laperche, SVR Lazartigue, made the dream start. Last to dock into Brest yesterday afternoon, after his Ultim had needed 6 weeks of repairs, Laperche hit the line at speed before building a narrow lead. Considering the weather forecast for the 6 skippers who today started the first ever, solo, race round the world, on 32-meter x 23, giant Ultim trimarans, François Gabard's 2017 mark, of 42 days 16 hours, is not in imminent danger. Much of the passage down to the equator will be upwind, slowed first by a low-pressure trough off Portugal, and then by a big Atlantic depression, to be negotiated later this week. As yet there is no sign of any fast trade winds sailing before they pass into the southern hemisphere. I did a rough routing this morning, and they could be more than 2 days behind the record time when they get into the Big South. Sam Goodchild, Britain's Amoca Globe Series champion skipper, and aspiring Vendée Globe racer, told the global audience watching the streamed race start early this afternoon. But, for all that, none of this latest generation, cutting-edge, giant foiling trimarans have ever been sailed at max speed across the South Indian Ocean and the Pacific Oceans, so any initial deficit could still be overturned before Cape Horn. In Brest, and thousands of sailing-mad Breton people delivered a fitting departure to a race which has been a dream shared by many for more than a decade. Since before sunrise, crowds lined the race village pontoons to bid farewell to the intrepid 6, sharing abundant moments of high emotion. The final interviews offered an instant snapshot of the character and different mindset of each of the skippers. First to reach his Adagio Ultim was 42-year-old Brest-based Eric Perron. He races the oldest boat in the fleet, the 2014 launched, non-foiling, Sodebo, which he has chartered to explore his personal limits and challenge his sense of adventure. As he stepped aboard, leaving his wife and toddler daughter, Perron blinked back the tears before he greeted and thanked his team. A past competitor on the Crude the Ocean race, he is a dedicated racer. Who knows if he finishes and does not pit stop, he has a good chance of finishing on the podium. Sailing actual Ultim, on which Gabard set the record in 2017, when it was Massif 100, Anthony Marchand, 38, has comprehensive experience in many classes, including 8 La Solitaire du Figaro's, and more recently the Ocean Race's Southern Ocean legs on Biotherm. His words were well rehearsed and he showed no sign of nerves. I slept well last night. I didn't need to watch a movie last night, I had time to hang out, with a nice dish of Bolognese pasta with my sweetie. Right now, I have a little knot in my stomach, because it's going to be a long day, full of emotions. These goodbyes are never very pleasant, everyone dreads it, but this is a special time to enjoy. The most beautiful minutes, though, will be the start. Tom Laperche, the youngest skipper in the race, brought his own brand of affable, unflappable youthful coolness, belying a steely focus. His SVR Lazartigue only arrived in Brest on Saturday, after 6 weeks of repairs to damage incurred on November's two-handed Transat Jacques Vabre, structural problems which had clearly threatened his participation. Born into an ocean racing family, racing round the world might be considered his destiny, but to have been already co-skippering an Ultim with mentor, Vendée Globe winning, François Gabard, at the age of 24, Laperche has plenty of Ultim experience, and will set a pace on the most radical, lightest boat in the fleet. Laperche said, "You don't get many moments like this in your life. I have confidence in my whole team, they have prepared the boat wonderfully, and we will be at the top level on the start line. There are so many people here this Sunday morning, that it really is something intense. I hope there will be as many people here when we finish. In recent weeks, my team have re-examined every aspect of the boat, and have worked a lot. I trust them. It's amazing to feel like I'm leaving on this boat alone, but with this whole team backing me and on this amazing boat. I leave here with lots of scenarios, lots of questions in my mind, and at the same time, I am so very happy to have the privilege of sailing around the world on the SVR Lazartigue trimaran. Believe me, I'm going to make the most of it. Double crewed round the world race winner, Charles Caudrelier, knows his 2017 launched, Maxi Edmund de Rothschild, better than most know their boats, and has had more racing successes than any in Ultim fleet. The Verdure design is the most powerful all-rounder in the fleet, and Caudrelier a committed winner. To the crowd he spoke firmly of the new adventure, the passage into the unknown of a solo high-speed race of more than 40 days, something entirely new for him. Caudrelier said, "Racing solo I like, it is nothing new after La Solitaire and the likes of the Route du Rhum, but the unknown is the length of this race and how I will cope with it. It is long to be alone. It's a bit strange, we're so used to starting races, except that what's coming is longer than usual. We are privileged to be at the start of this race, and we have to remember this every time we are scared or apprehensive, and we tell ourselves that it's going to be hard. We cannot complain." Thomas Coville was one of the crowd's two standout favorites, not least long as he has a long history of starting and finishing records, in France's Ocean City, and the City of Records. Starting his 9th round-the-world passage, the 55-year-old knows what lies ahead, and for sure can finish on the podium on his Sodebo Ultim 3, but admitted last night had been hard, as this is his first race since both his parents passed in quick succession. During our big operational briefing with the technical team last night, we spoke of how this Sunday morning there would be a lot of emotions, and that we had to stick to what we already knew how to do very well. And I dropped the atomic bomb, and we all started crying. This is my first round the world without my parents. They are somewhere else, and I'm going racing. Now I do it for myself but still with them. Last night was terrible, but maybe putting it into words freed something. But I am in the here and now, I feel very happy, and very in tune with a very cool time in my life. Caudrelier shares the tag of pre-race favorite, with 46-year-old Amel Leclos, who holds more round-the-world solo aces. The Banque Populaire 11 skipper has now raced 3 times solo around the world since 2008, on successive Vendée Globe races, and has finished second twice and won in 2016. And he and Seb Joss have just won the Transat Jacques Vabre Transatlantic. Leclos bowed to his superstition, and avoided the trophy like it was protected by a force field. Leclos said, "I don't like getting too close to the trophy, it brings bad luck. The trophy is for the finish. I've been dreaming of a big race, starting from Finistère, for a long time. Now everything has come together for a great story. I grew up in this beautiful region, I learned to sail not far away from here, we couldn't have hoped for a better send-off. Before a solo round-the-world race on these boats. Now, it's up to me to succeed in my mission. The leaders should pass Cape Finisterre, off the northwest corner of Spain, Monday morning, after a relatively straightforward passage of Biscay. But the first major weather hurdle is a low-pressure trough, a thalweg off the Portuguese coast, which is the precursor to the big Atlantic Depression. Spanish weather ace Pep Costa, who is working with the SVR Lazartigue Medio Group, explains, it is quite tricky for the skippers because they have a thalweg, a trough, which they have to cross to the other side of. That means a transition zone, of the wind from the north, to the wind from the east. Australia-based Will Oxley, who is in the weather routing cell for Coville's Sodebo, explains, the elephant in the room is the large front, and low pressure, the fleet is due to encounter on Wednesday 10th. All the setup revolves around when and where will we interact with the system? As we know, the weather routing programs know no fear, and left to their own devices, they are happy to send the Ultims into 6-meter swells and 45-knot gusts, so we need to manage that carefully.
En fin de nuit, tu commences un peu à penser à tout, essayer de penser à autre chose pour dormir, continuer à dormir. Il n'y a pas beaucoup des journées comme ça au final dans une vie, je pense.
Et on restera les 6 sur cette première photo de cette première ARKÉA Ultime Challenge.
C'est de, voilà, moi je suis pas trop non plus rester concentré sur ma course parce que dans quelques heures je vais être tout seul sur ce bateau.
Une victoire, vous nous l'avez dit, d'être ici aujourd'hui. Hein.
Oui.
On vous souhaite bon vent, Aimé.
Ils ont tous fait un travail admirable. On dit souvent que 80% du boulot est fait, donc maintenant je pars pour rendre hommage à ces 80% et faire les 20 derniers pourcents le mieux possible. Voilà.
Ça paraît très technique, ça paraît très carbone, ça paraît très techno. Mettez-vous dans le crâne qu'avant tout, c'est des hommes et des femmes qui croient à un truc et qui vont jusqu'au bout ensemble. Ça, c'est pour moi le plus. Il faut que vous reteniez que ça. Et à l'arrivée, on parlera que de ça.
Coucou, sacré départ. C'est parti, voilà à quoi ça ressemble. Fin de journée, au large de... On arrive dans le rail des cargos. Banque Pop vient d'empanner et on est en tête. Donc tout le monde est hyper groupé, c'est chouette. Super content de ce départ. Et maintenant, voilà, route vers l'Espagne. Bonne soirée, reposez-vous bien, ciao. Ça y est, on est parti sur l'ARKÉA Ultime Challenge, le tour du monde en solitaire. Départ de Brest tout à l'heure. Il fait beau, un peu frais. On a le bonnet et puis il y avait pas mal d'émotions hein. Avec tous les gens qui étaient venus nous voir, c'était super sympa. Merci encore d'être venus aussi nombreux. Et puis voilà, maintenant on est direction le sud, au portant. Il y a Thomas qui est pas très loin, Anthony est derrière un petit peu. Voilà, on est tous un peu groupés. Et on fait route vers le golfe de Gascogne. Et les conditions sont plutôt pas mal pour commencer. Voilà, une première nuit qui va être assez rapide. On devrait arriver normalement au large de l'Espagne demain matin. Si tout va bien. Allez, à bientôt!
Voilà, départ de l'ARKÉA Ultime Challenge. Ça y est, on quitte Brest. Les conditions sont pas mal. Et la route est longue. En tout cas, merci d'être venus nombreux pour me soutenir. C'était vraiment émouvant. Allez, je pense qu'il y a un empannage qui va pas trop tarder et je vous donne des nouvelles tout au long de la course.
Ça y est, on est parti! Il y a du monde sur l'eau. Pour un super spectacle. Il y avait de monde là. Bon, c'est cool. Un point moins rapide forcément. Allez, c'est parti. Ouais, salut la compagnie. Vous voyez là, on est à quelques heures après le départ. On a fait déjà un empannage et puis on n'est pas loin de ce dépôt et par là-bas, Banque Populaire qui mène la course. Donc on est pas mal pour le moment, on glisse bien. Évidemment on va moins vite, mais par contre on glisse mieux. Des super conditions. Voilà, bon, j'ai déjà mon petit premier problème, mais c'est pas grand chose, c'est presque réglé déjà. Un petit problème d'électronique. Voilà. Voilà, on est pas loin. Et là on voit, on distingue Moins populaire. Et juste sous mon vent, sonnez-vous. Il vole. Nous on vole pas. La vidéo, sonnez-vous juste à côté de moi.